How is beef prepared from the animal? How is beef prepared from the animal? Why is that we don't just get the animal while walking and then we roast it? How do you know spoiled meat? Okay, those are the things we are going to look at in today's lesson. But before that, we have systems of beef production. Just like the way we studied about poultry, we have different systems of poultry keeping. So here, systems of beef production, there are a number of systems for beef production requiring different levels of skill and management. And some of the systems serve different purposes. Okay? The different ways of rearing these animals, the beef animals, they are different in number and they also have different purposes and they require different skills. Like the first one, which says breeding pure herd animals. A pure animal, for example, a Frisian. A Frisian is pure. Pure meaning it does not have any other qualities. It is purely a Frisian. Not again a local which has mated with a Frisian. That one now becomes diluted. It's not pure. Okay. So here, when a person who does this system of breeding only pure animals, this person is specialized in undertaking and requires great skill and experience in breeding and selection of animals. The purpose is to provide pure bull breeds or replace stock to other breeders. You maintain only one type of animal, a hybrid. For example, if it is people, if you are a white, let's say maybe if you are from US, you maintain that gene only. When you marry a person from US and you produce children from that side. Not again a Ugandan marrying with a person from US. That one leads to spoiling of the breed. In animals, the local animal should not mate with the Frisian or the exotic breed. Why do you do that? Maybe you want to sell off after getting that hybrid, because you know hybrids are expensive. When you sell them off, you get a good amount of money. Selection. Selection simply means if you have like 10 cows and 10 bulls, you choose the one which has good qualities. If it is a cow, the one which has ability to produce much milk, and then the one which is resistant to harsh weather conditions, and then the one which is resistant to pests and parasites. Okay, so that is system number one, breeding pure herd animals. Number two says cow and calf systems. Calves are left with their dams. Dams, those are the mothers, until when they are introduced into eating solid foods, and the cows are the cows are not milked. It requires plentiful pasture and little supplementary feeding, except in severe dry seasons. Here, you rear the animal, the mother and the child, that is the calf. Don't milk, just leave the animal to the calf to just suckle the milk from the mother, and it requires you to keep on feeding the animal. Why? For you are aiming at producing beef, the animal to grow fat, the animal to put in a lot of live weight. Live weight is that size of the animal, the body. And then the slaughter weight also increases. When you cut off the head and it's lifeless, it means that the animal is going to have build-up of beef. The other is growing stockers. growing stockers. Stockers are mainly steers and heifers or thin animals. They are only kept for 1 year and are fed on pasture. You get the young ones, you're preparing them to be stocked to another new farm. So it's just like in a nursery bed. You have these young plants, the seedlings. Before you transplant them into the main garden, you have to first bring them up. You bring them up. If it is in animal, you feed them properly, you control diseases, you do everything good such that the animal comes out with that good vigor. Progressive farmers and ranchers, these are co-owned ranches, can adequately manage to undertake. You get a smaller number which you can undertake, you can take control of. Don't go and look for a bigger number which you cannot. The purposes are to recondition steers and prepare them for fattening, and heifers are conditioned for breeding. Heifers are those animals which have not given birth, the cows, the ones which are still virgin, the virgin female cows. Those ones are called heifers. Fattening simply means it just eats, doesn't go to the garden. You don't use it as an oxen. You don't milk the animal. It is just there. Its work is only to grow fat, because your objective is to get good quality beef of the animal. And then the last one says baby beef production. This is the production of tender meat from young stock. It involves breeding, rearing, and fattening, all done on the same farm. You get the animal, the young calf, feed it, you do everything necessary such that you get that tender meat, a meat which is very tasty, a meat which is able to attract high quality. Okay, so that is the objective. Baby beef production, you get the young calves from their mothers, then you isolate them, you keep them there, you rear them, feed them properly, control diseases, and the rest. At 4 to 6 months, all the calves are fed on concentrates. Here maybe could come a question, what are concentrates? Can anybody define what a concentrate is?
These are the purest substances in food.
We are not able to get you properly. Pardon, Amira? Okay, so these are substances that animals feed on apart from the grass. Here we have the bone meal, the fish meal, the maize bran. Those are the things that are found as concentrates. Those things are given to the animal between 4 to 6 months. Okay. Okay. Notice also has a different version of a definition there, but in the case of agriculture, that one may not apply. Concentrates are different types of foods or feeds given to animals. We shall study also animal nutrition. What do animals feed on, as we continue discussing. And then the other point says, cows need full feeding in order to produce good calves. When you feed the cows properly, you'll be able to get good calves. The good calves which will produce in future and grow fat and also provide you with nice beef. The purpose is to finish the baby beef animals when they are 12 to 18 months. You have to finish them. Finishing does not mean that you kill all of them, no. You remove all of them, take care of them separately, 18 months, that is 1 year, and some few months, 12 months, that is a year. When it is 1 year old, you separate it away from its mother and you take control of it. I hope this page is kind of okay. So another method is fattening or growing. Okay, fattening or growing. This involves fattening of both animals after being fed on high energy feeds before selling. You get the animal, maybe you could have bought it from the market, but you intend to sell it after. You bring it, you feed it well, you control diseases, you do everything necessary such that the animal increases in size, the animal looks good. By the time you sell it, it will be able to attract you high income. As simple as that. That is the last method of the last system of beef rearing. So here we are looking at aims. What are the objectives of the ranch management? Why should we confine animals in one place, in one farm? Okay. Why should we keep these animals for beef? Why don't we just leave these animals to move the way they want? They do whatever they want, but make sure that we arrest them, confine them in one place, start feeding them from there as if they cannot look for their own food. Why? Amira, you could read for us. What are the objectives? Amira, what are the objectives? You read for us.
To decrease the animal fluctuations in storing numbers. To decrease the season fluctuation in live weight of stock. To minimize reproductive performance towards the ideal of one calf per cow per losses due to diseases.
All right, thank you. Number 1 says to decrease or reduce the animal fluctuations in stocking numbers. To reduce, because there are seasons whereby there are no animals. There are very few animals. So how do you control that? You have to get those animals, create artificial conditions. If you have a farm whereby you are taking care of the animals, you feed them properly, you brush them, you horn them, those animals will be used for future. But in case we don't do that, we are only getting animals and we cut them, we sell them. At the end of the day, you may, at some time in the future, we will not be having animals. Meat would disappear. So that's why it is important that we rear these animals in ranches. Number 2 says to reduce the seasonal fluctuation in live weight of stock. The amount of meat supply, okay, should keep on increasing. Because if supply of meat reduces, live weight is the amount of meat now itself. If meat production reduces, I mean the supply of meat production reduces, the prices are going to become high. There has to be a scenario whereby meat used to be only a kilogram 5,000. That was by 2008, 2009. Meat used to be 7,000. But today, meat can cost you 20,000 a kilogram. Beef, 15. It is due to seasonal fluctuations. Look at a scenario like between Christmas time and New Year. Prices rise because demand is high and supply is low. So if we continuously produce these animals, production will always be high. The third point says to minimize reproductive performance towards ideal of 1 calf per cow per year. A cow produces once a year, but that can be duplicated. A cow can produce twice in a year. Yes, we know maybe this cow takes 9 months when it is pregnant. So now a year has 12 months. But we could create a situation whereby the calf can produce more than that by breeding. Artificial insemination, there is a way whereby we can get this zygote, the young of the animal. We keep them artificially, just like you see they are premature babies. They get those babies, they put them inside the machines, they incubate them, okay? Even as we can incubate these animals. You incubate a cow, a goat, and that maintains and reduces that problem of productivity. At the end of the day, we are able to increase the number of meat, kilograms of meat in the market. And even we have increased the population of animals. The last point says to minimize calf mortality and losses due to diseases. There are diseases which lead to death. For example, pneumonia in animals. Such diseases can easily kill young animals at a tender age. But now if we create a nice situation, for example, proper housing of the calves, these calves are put inside the house which has a nice floor. When it urinates, the urine flows away from it. Okay, the feeds are inside, it has a bed inside. When it is sleeping, does not sleep on a cold floor. Water is provided at the right time. Okay, such things can lead to elimination of calf mortality. The calves will not die. Is this page okay? Is this page okay? As we go to the next one. Okay, here comes another heading. Factors that determine the size of the herd. A herd simply means a group of animals, a group of cattle. What are the things that increase a herd? Amira, you could read for us the first 4.
The type of pasture spices, high nutritive value of pastures, therefore high carrying capacity. The productivity of the pasture spices, high rate of dry matter or forage for grazing means high number of stock. The type of stock, e.g., herd types which can survive well in drier conditions, can scarce pasture, can be kept in large numbers. Availability of reserve feeds which enable a large herd to be carried through dry periods when pasture is scarce. Economic considerations which are usually for a long-term nature, e.g., whether the farmer requires cash immediately and the cost of keeping a large number of animals.
All right, thank you. So these are the things which we are supposed to look at as farmers. If you have bought 3 animals to start your farm, how will you be able to multiply those 3 animals into something different, maybe 10, 20 and above? Okay. One of the key things, number one, the type of pasture, species. High nutritive value of pastures, therefore high carrying capacity. If the pasture is nutritive, when the animal eats it, it is appetizing. It is very nice. When animals continue eating it, the animals will be able to have what to eat. At the end of the day, they are able to reproduce so easily. The other point, productivity of the pasture. High rate of dry matter or forage for grazing means high number of stock. Forage are the parts that the animal feeds on, the leaves, the stems, okay? That is forage. And all dry matter is just the same. Productivity of pasture, if pasture is able to regenerate, to grow very fast after being eaten, okay? Because when you see grass, when grass is destroyed, after being eaten, it has to grow back those parts. The faster it degenerates and it brings more leaves, the better, because the cows will be having what to eat. So the other third point says the type of stock. Hardy types which can survive well in rare conditions and scarce pasture can be kept in large numbers. Ability of the animal to withstand harsh weather conditions where there is limited food, you reduce the time of eating. You say these animals have to eat 2 times a day. Provide them hay or other pastures early in the morning and late in the evening, not just eating the whole day. You should have, if you have such animals, those animals will be able to multiply and survive in absence of pasture. So, but if you have the other stock, the opposite, the ones which cannot withstand harsh weather conditions, by the time it skips meals, the next time you find it dead. When temperatures rise, you find it roasted because the temperatures are too high. It cannot survive. So when you are going to stock your animals, you have to be knowing which type of animal do you want. The other is availability of reserve feeds, which enable a large herd to be carried through dry periods when pasture is scarce. If just like us, human beings, we store some food around, maybe in the store, or maybe you are sure that is there in the market. The same case with these animals. These animals, after you grow in your pasture, you don't harvest all of it, leave some to stay in the garden. When it stays in the garden during dry season, you go and harvest it and bring it to the animal to feed on. Or like hay, you have seen hay being fed to donkeys. Hay is kept in the store. When dry season hits, they just go and get that food and they give it to the animal. That's what we call the reserve. When you have reserve, it means that pasture scarcity is eliminated and the animals will continue feeding. The more they continue feeding, the more they grow, the more they reproduce, and the herd is increased. But the absence of pasture also can lead to reduction of the size of the herd. Animals will die because they have nothing to eat. The other point says economic considerations, which are usually of long-term nature. For example, whether the farmer requires cash immediately and the cost of keeping a large number of animals. A person may want only 2 cows, or a person could only want 10. Why? Maybe he's having challenges in accessing the feeds to feed the animal. Or maybe he wants to sell them off to get money and buy something else. So those factors may determine the size of the herd. The other factor is topography of the land. Where overstocking where overstocking in hilly areas could result into serious case of soil erosion. Hilly areas, for example, Kasese, okay? Such areas, these animals have very sharp hooves, the hooves can penetrate into the ground and cause soil erosion. Before causing soil erosion, they disable the grass available there, and they distort the soil particles. The soil particles become loose. By the time it rains, they are easily washed away by running water. So that could lead to having a fewer number of these animals. A farmer will say, for me now, let me have only 2 to avoid landslides. Because if you have very many of them, the animals go and weaken the hill where you are. When it rains, when the water will sweep you plus your house plus your cows, and you'll be no more. So the farmer will decide that, okay, for me, let me have a few of them. The other point says availability of water sufficient and available at all times. That is key number 1. So long as you have water, it means that you are able to keep a very big herd of animals. The last point says the presence of poisonous plants and trees that could render portions of the ranch useless. If you have a very big bush where you would go and graze your animals, but the big bush has plants which are harmful to the animal, it means that you have to look for another better place. Or you may not even keep any animal. Is this page clear to everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Here now, we are going to look at if cattle health. Just like you, to be healthy, you need to sleep on a soft bed. You need to sleep in a house which has no leaking roof and the rest. And the type of food you feed on should also be of good quality. Okay? Let's start discussing the buildings. Amira, you could read for us.
The buildings should be big enough to avoid overcrowding. Should be well ventilated to avoid respiratory infections. The floor should be made of concrete, which is easy to clean. All buildings should be kept clean and be washed out regularly to control diseases. The cow pens should have adequate bedding, which should be changed regularly. Flies and lice can be controlled by spraying or dusting.
Okay, thank you. So, the buildings of the animals should be put into consideration. Buildings should be big enough to avoid overcrowding. When you put animals, maybe 10 animals into a very small room, they will keep on fighting. When they are fighting, they cause wounds on themselves, on their skins. They could even break the walls of the building. They will damage the building. So you have to make sure that you correct that. The building should be well ventilated to avoid the respiratory infections like pneumonia. It is very common in animals due to poor exchange. When amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide is not minimized. So we have to put ventilators into the animal house. The other is the floor should be made of concrete, which is easy to clean. Concrete, not cement or tiles. Don't be excited and be like, I love my cow so much. I'm going to put for it tiles, my friend. Tiles, cement are very dangerous to animals. These animals can easily break. They would slide. Okay? They slide and break. At the end of the day, you'll be counting losses. So the other is, all buildings should be kept clean and be cleaned and be washed out regularly to control diseases. Just like you always wash your cups clean, you clean the house, but you take like 1 month when you're not cleaning your house. Don't wash plates, you don't do anything, you don't sweep. You see rats starting to build up their own empire there. Flies will be everywhere, and you know what flies can do? Cholera can appear. So even these animals, their susu, their urine attracts a lot of flies. And these flies can easily transmit other diseases. So you have to clean up the animal house on a daily basis, such that you are able to have good health in the animals. When you have good health in the animals, it simply means that these animals are going to be productive. They are going to reduce expenditure. Look at a scenario whereby you're spending like 500,000 every month to treat an animal. At the end of the day, you sell the animal only 800,000. That is a very big loss. So to avoid that, you have to be able to practice good sanitation. The other is the calf pens should have adequate bedding, which should be changed regularly. A calf pen is a small house where only calves sleep, the young of the cows. Where they sleep, they should have beddings. When you talk about beddings, yeah, don't be excited. Like, yeah, I'm going to buy for my cow a uniform, or you go and buy Nile foam. No, we are not talking about your mattresses. We are talking beddings. We are dry grass. Okay, you put dry grass inside the calf pen. The animal sleeps on it. As simple as that. Make sure when these animals sleep on it, they have to urinate, defecate. So you have to keep on changing the beddings regularly. Don't be excited and be like, my cows may lack bed sheets. These animals' skin provides the best warmth. Does not require to buy a bed sheet. Flies and lice can be controlled by spraying. Make sure you spray to control flies and lice, because these are parasites. They suck blood from the animal. Before you know, the animal becomes emaciated. The animal will grow small in size because each food it feeds on, the other parasites feed on it, they enjoy it, and it will die if you don't take control of it. The other is the grazing area, where they graze from if they are not inside the house, if they are not inside the building. Make sure that all trees and shrubs which hinder good growth of grass, which would harbor flies, should be removed. Remove all the big trees, okay? The shrubs, because they can act as hiding place for these parasites, the flies, which have ability to introduce diseases into the farm. The other point says water troughs. This should be cleaned out twice a week. Marram or concrete floor should be put around to avoid muddy conditions that would encourage foot rot. Foot rot is a type of disease which affects these animals' hooves. So you have to make sure that where the water trough is, there is always that place is always cemented using concrete. Concrete is kind of rough. It's rough, does not allow the animal to slide. Or marram. Marram is a mixture of soil. It's a marble of soil and small stones. Should we put around so that you avoid muddy conditions? Because if the hooves become dirty, water is going to be there. It's going to create a congestive environment for the growth and development of pathogens. Before you know, the animal becomes lame. The animal starts to model because the legs are not on the same level, or because it is feeling pain in one of the legs, hooves. The last point says breeding. Cows should be serviced by healthy bulls to control diseases which can be transmitted by breeding, or artificial insemination should be used. When these animals are mating, okay, when they are mating, when the bull ejaculates and releases sperms inside the vagina of the cow, don't just allow any type of cow to just jump, any type of bull to jump on your cow. No, you should have also quality. Go to, maybe you go and buy sperms, artificial insemination, buy sperms, buy a syringe. If you cannot do it by yourself, you can call a veterinary doctor. He will help you out. You go and find out that, okay, so now if this animal is on heat, it means that it's ready for mating. What happens next? Number one, you have to introduce sperms into the vagina such that the animal becomes pregnant and produces you another calf. Why do you do artificial insemination? To avoid transfer of diseases, because some diseases are transferred through sperms. I hope this page is clear to everybody.
Yes.
Okay, let's see what we have on the next page. On your farm should have a clinic. Sorry for that. I was still explaining by saying that on your farm you should have a first of all, a cow measure 600 and 1,000 kilo veterinary doctor. No, so you should have a clinic within your farm. A dispensary. This is dispensary. This is mainly for animal drugs that should be kept by unqualified veterinary personnel. if you don't have the knowledge of using these things, don't try, because you might end up having Panadol, you put it in the animal's mouth. At the end of the day, you'll cause losses. The ranch dispensary include healing oil, which can be applied on wounds, and then cotton wool, the wound of the animal. Just like you, if after okay, sorry for that. You have to address the wound, put the bandage there after cleaning the wound. Okay, so cotton is also important. A syringe for injecting drugs into the animal's body. A syringe moves together with a needle. Okay, that is used for introducing medicine into the animal's body. And then sulfur drugs such as sulfamidine, which is general drug for oral treatment or injection. You introduce that into the animal's body also for other sicknesses, since it's general. And then we have stabestor straw used in injections on animals after calving. If the afterbirth is retained and has to be removed, the womb has to come out of the animal's body, I mean the placenta. But if it fails to come out, you have to inject in this to force that placenta to come out of the animal's body. Just like people, some people go to the hospital when they are pregnant, when they want to produce, they get such complications and the baby fails to come out. So even in the cows, it happens. And then spirit for cleaning wounds and sterilizing of instruments. The Caesar, the what is sterilized using spirit. And then erythromycin spray for skin wounds. You spray on the animal's skin to heal them. It's also it's an injectable solution which has a wide spectrum. It heals very many other diseases, especially the ones caused by bacteria. And then chlorhexidine for disinfecting. These words may not need you to be able to grasp them so much, but you should have knowledge of them, because you cannot just go to the hospital and say, I want Panadol. They will ask you which component is made up of Panadol, because you have also headaches. But if headaches has the same component with like Panadol, it means that it qualifies to heal your disease. So some of these components are the ones which scientifically are important, because tomorrow you never know, you could be a veterinary doctor. You could be a veterinary doctor, maybe working with any other animal organization, maybe National Wildlife Authority, maybe different farms. Okay, so this knowledge is also helpful. So now we have grown our animals. They have reached time for slaughter. Have you ever seen when they're slaughtering animals? Who has ever seen? Hamira, have you ever seen?
Yes.
Okay, and then Mutes, have you seen when they are slaughtering animals?
I've seen a goat, but I've never seen a cow.
You have never seen a cow?
No.
Okay, so here we are going to look at the procedure. I don't know where people got that mentality. Hamira, maybe you could give us a reason why you always say that it's only Muslims who are supposed to do the slaughtering. but that will be a discussion for another day. Butchery, procedure of slaughtering an animal. Before slaughter, what should be done? The animals at all times be handled humanly. Please don't go and fight with the animal because they are you. Okay? Humanly rest the animal, starve it, make it not to eat for 24 hours. 2 days, no eating. Why should you make the animal starve? Is it because it is going to die? No, this allows emptying of the gut. The stomach reduces, it becomes empty because the food which is there is being utilized. And it also reduces spoilage and contamination of meat. The meat, when you bring it at home, you can keep it for some good period of time. But if that is not done, the meat will become spoiled. What about the resting? Why should it rest? The resting also conserves stored body glycogen. Glycogen, simply energy. Simply energy. Okay? So after slaughter, glycogen is converted into lactic acid, which has preserving effect on the meat. Okay? So that's what we are able to cover today. Thank you for attending. I'll forward this work into our group, but some people prefer emails. I will also forward it. Remind me. Have a blessed day. Thank you for attending. Hello.
Thank you for the lesson.
Thank you, teacher.
All right. In case of anything, you may consult me. But for today, that's what we are able to cover. Good day.
Thank you.